Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about Holocaust memorials and memory, and more specifically, basing my ideas on James Young's text, The Texture of Memory. Just bear with me, I'm a little bit sick, so I kind of sound a little bit funny today. Um, okay, so just a brief introduction. I went to Poland last May with Mandy and some other students to visit sites of Holocaust memory, and this was a really extraordinary trip. It definitely has got me interested in studying Holocaust memorials and memory a lot more closely. And I wanted to share with you some of the things I learned on my trip and relate them back to our class. So, James Young talks a lot about Holocaust memorials and why people choose to erect certain memorials. And I want to talk about the difference between physical monuments and memorials versus active memorialization. So, one of the best examples of active memorialization that I came across on my trip in Poland was the Grodzka Gate NN Theatre in Lublin. And we briefly talked about this in class, but in more detail. The NN Theatre is a government cultural center that was founded in 1990, and the whole goal of the theater is to educate locals and other people about the Jewish heritage that existed in Lublin before the war and before the Holocaust. So one of the theater's main projects is Project 43,000, and what they're trying to do is fill 43,000 files in with the information of each and every single Jewish person who lived in the Jewish sector of Lublin before the Holocaust. So let's talk about James Young a little bit. James Young believes that monuments and memorials are often erected as a way to kind of remove yourself from actively having to remember events. So I have some quotes that really resonated with me from his reading. So James Young says that public memory of this time is being molded in a proliferating number of memorial images and spaces. Depending on where and by whom these memorials are constructed, these sites remember the past according to a variety of national myths, ideals, and political needs. Memory is never shaped in a vacuum. The motives of memory are never pure. Both the reasons given for Holocaust memorials and the kinds of memory they generate are as various as the sites themselves. For once we assign monument form to memory, we have, to some degree, divested ourselves of the obligation to remember. And I definitely agree with Young here. I feel like sometimes physical monuments can be created as a way to not have to actively remember the atrocities that occurred. Whereas I see the Project 43,000 at the NN Theatre as an active and ongoing memory work. So the people that are working at the Grodzka Gate Theatre are continually, painlessly going through archives and information, trying to reassemble the Jewish culture and the Jewish people that were there before the Holocaust. I actually have my journal with me from when we visited the theater in Lublin, and there's a note here that I wrote down while we were there, and it says, "It must be so much work to compile all of these histories. Why do these people find this so essential?" So I remember actually being there and looking at the people who are working there and thinking to myself, like, that's so much work. Why would you need to do that? It was just like mind-boggling, like to see these people so passionate about filling these 43,000 files. But Young definitely helped me understand why these people were so passionate about doing this. Young says, the memorial operation remains self-contained and detached from our daily lives, under the illusion that our memorial edifices will always be there to remind us. We take leave of them and return only at our convenience. To the extent that we encourage monuments to do our memory work for us, we become that much more forgetful. So in a sense, by building a monument, we're actually trying to forget about what happened, not actively remembering it. Whereas with Project 43,000, it will never be finished. The memory work is always going on. It's something that is always being engaged with. And this kind of anxiety I felt while I was at the theater is exactly what the project is meant to do. You're like, remembering something should be a burden. It should be something that we are always continually working towards. So James Young says that instead of allowing the past to rigidify in its monumental forms, we would vivify memory through the memory work itself, whereby events, their recollection, and the role monuments play in our lives remain animate, never completed. And that's exactly what the Grodzka Gate Theatre is doing. That's why it's called memory work. It's work. It's not meant to be easy. It's something that's supposed to be laborious and continual over time so that we never forget. I think by just finding the bare bones information about the people who lived in Lublin is the closest you can get to reality. Like, it's just bare bone facts that can't be molded or influenced by an artist's monument, because every single monument that is erected is molded in to reflect the political environment of the time and the artist's motivations and different things. Whereas if you're just looking for the people and their information, you can't really obscure that memory. I'd like to end my discussion with a quote from Jean Baudrillard. This is my favorite quote that really keeps me focused on studying the Holocaust. And Baudrillard says, "Forgetting the extermination is part of the extermination itself." And that really resonates with me because the major goal of the Nazis was to obliterate the existence of Jewish people as though they had never existed. This is why they went through so much effort to blow up concentration camps and death camps after they were done their work there. They wanted it to be as if Jewish people never existed. But if we continually are using active memorialization and uncovering people who died and sharing their memory and saying their names, every time you say a Holocaust victim's name, you're basically giving a big FU to the Nazis. You're completely negating their goal. Their goal was for us to forget Jewish people. And by actively remembering them and how their lives were before the Holocaust, this is how we combat the work of the Nazis.